Hey, what's up, guys? So this is my dad's Jeep. I'm gonna kind of do a real quick walk around, but this video isn't about the walk around. This video is actually about trimming the front fenders. um, you can see I already did this side, and I'm gonna show you guys how I did it. I didn't do it the way that most people do online, so that's why I'm kind of making a video, because I'm sure there's 20 videos about how to trim your front fenders. Everybody usually uses either a Dremel tool or a grinder wheel with a cutoff wheel on it. I'm going to be doing something different. I'm going to be doing using some tin shears, some metal shears, and you can see here this one isn't done. The first thing that I'm going to do is kind of eyeball again where I did this. So you can see I left a little bit there, and then I kind of just came up to a point where this would meet. And there's some spots that I think I should cut. Like this looks like it dips down a little and then goes over. I don't necessarily like that. And this right here looks like it dips down a little. So I'm gonna go back in and fix those, but hopefully on this other side I don't do that. Now what I do, just for a visual, is I'm gonna take a marker pen and I'm gonna make a mark about where that other one was, and then pretty much right there is where that is, and then I'm gonna just kind of eyeball where it makes sense to bring that up. And then what I'll do is kind of look at like where the tire is, or make a reference of how far it is from there. Come over to the other side and pretty much right in line right there. So I think it's close enough that if I make that cut right there, that it should look the same. Now my goal is to stay about a 1/4 inch from the top of that crease. So what I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna kind of draw a rough line of what to do, and you can see it's not perfectly straight. Now eventually I plan to bring this all the way down to here, but I don't have the time for that. It's raining and I'm about to go on a trip, so I'm actually going to just bring it to here. So once again, I'm going to kind of figure out where it kind of makes sense to make that corner and that transition. And make sure that I do the same thing on the other side. So if you look, I kind of went straight up and then started to curve. All right. So straight up from where the marker is, which would be right about there. Sorry about the bad video. And then start to curve in. So I pretty much have everything marked out. So the next thing to do is to kind of just start cutting. Oh, one more thing. There is a bracket right here, 10mm screw, 10mm screw. Then it's kind of welded into the body with not pinch welds, but spot welds into certain spots. We're not going to use this, so we're going to end up cutting it. And then I'll show you over here on this side. You can see I took it off right there, and then it's cut. And then what I did is it's probably hard to see, but I used a zip tie right here, and I zip tied it to the bracket that I cut off. I just drilled a hole in both, and then if you could see another zip tie right here, I use a zip tie right there to hook up to some holes that were already in the body, and that kind of helps keep the fender liner on there the way it should. Get back into focus there. Sorry. So now I'm just gonna go get the shears and show you what I do. Alright, so all I'm using is just these Milwaukee metal shears, and First thing I'm going to do is I like to start on the back and the front. So I'm just taking this and I'm kind of coming in here, and then I'm just going to cut as close as I can to that body line, and just use the shear to cut the body right there. And then I'm going to do the same thing over here. Let's see if I could set up this camera where you guys could see what I'm doing, and then I could just work. So I'm just taking the shears and I kind of pulled the body towards me, and then I'm going to come in here, line them up as close as I can, and just start cutting. I think this looks cleaner than using a grinder, because I get a really decent edge. And then I'm pretty much just going to keep working my way up. Sorry. I'm going to keep working my way up, and it doesn't matter if I follow the marks that I did, because I'm going to come back in here and trim it up and make it look better in the end. So that's pretty much all I'm doing. I'm just going to keep cutting, and I'm going to go ahead and do that and show you guys where I'm at. Okay, I kind of just wanted you guys to see what I did step by step. So I'm really just taking these shears and using the curve of the shears to just keep following this body line. And then every now and then I'm just going to get to a point where I could just break off a piece, and I'll use the shears to break off that piece and just cut it off so that I have room. And then just gonna keep going. Unfortunately it's raining, but I think you guys get the idea of what I'm doing. And the next thing I'm gonna do to follow the body line, now that I got a little more room, is I'm just gonna start using the shears again to follow that line I made. And I'm gonna just keep going all the way through. And then where it gets tricky is this area, so I'll show you what I do there. Alright, so here's where I'm at so far. And like I said, I'm just taking these shears right here. I'm just following along. I'm just cutting. And then now I got to this point. This is where I told you it's going to get a little bit tricky. The reason is twofold. One, I'm going to have to make a straight line down. I'm going to see if I can let you guys see what I'm doing here. So I am looking at the top of the shears right here, and I can kind of see where they're cutting right in there. So as I cut, I'm just really paying attention to my cut line, and I just keep going, and then I'm just going to follow that down. Now since I'm going straight, I have to have a little more torque with these scissors or these shears, and this is going to get in the way. So my next step is kind of just to cut this off. So I'm going to find a spot, I'm going to come in here, and I'm just going to cut down to get rid of it. So you can see here, pretty much cut that off. And I'm going to come in here, cut that chunk off. So now that that chunk's cut off, I'm going to have a little more room to come in here and continue to make this cut. Something I could do too is I could take this piece of metal, kind of just bend it out of the way, so that I could get my shears back in there and start to cut a little more. But now I'm doing everything I can to follow my dots. I'm going to keep following the dots, You can see the front of my shears, I kind of line up with each dot, and then just keep cutting. Now it's tight again, and the reason it's tight again is because this bracket right here is in the way. So I got to remove this bracket, and then I also need to cut this portion. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to try to actually go from this side. So what I did when I did the other side is I kind of just used the shears to come up with a spot where I want to stop. Now I turn the shears the other way, and now I'm going to kind of follow my line this way, but because there's so much rigidity there from the body kind of folding in, then it's kind of harder to use the shears. So here I almost have to kind of like cut little pieces off just so I could get the rigidity I need. But first I'm gonna go ahead and see how much further I could come down with this, and then I'll remove these 2 screws. Alright, so you can see there that it's pretty much cut. Now I have this right here, and then if you can see I made like a relief cut to be able to push this down. But here's that bracket that I'm talking about that it's stuck to, right? And then here's the 10mm nuts that are on there. So I'm just gonna come in here and take these off. It's just a 10, and then once I take this off, then this bracket will give me a little more play. And then I need to take my shears and come in here and just cut where you can't see that bracket anymore, otherwise it kind of looks ugly. So I'm gonna go ahead and take this off real quick, and then I'll show you the next. So I took off the 2 screws, so now this bracket can bend and get out of the way. But what I need to do, like I said, is I need to come in here and cut that area. So I'm just gonna take the shears, I'm gonna come up behind where I can't see it and just start making a cut of the metal there. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. It's pretty simple. Alright, so I was able to get that piece off. You can see where I used the shears to cut it. This was up in there. So now everything's on perfectly fine. And then if you look up here, there's just a little piece of metal. So I drilled a hole through that, and then I'm gonna drill a hole through here, and I'm just gonna zip tie it up. And then up here, might be hard to see, but there's a body hole right there and a small body hole right there. So I just use zip ties to get into that body hole. Now, this is pretty much cut, but now that I have more room, I could use the shears and kind of just clean up all of this. Like, so if you look over here, you can see how there's just marks, but now there's room. It's gonna be a lot easier for me to bring the shears in and kind of just start cleaning it up. So you come in and just cut as much as you can. Not too hard to do, but yeah, I'm just gonna clean up these cuts a little bit, and then I'll kind of let you guys see the finished product. So it's raining, so it's really hard to film, but I wanted to see show you guys what I meant by being able to kind of just clean up your cuts. So if you could see here, I kind of have like a weird angle. Now, so all I did was take my shears and I got them in there, and you could just slowly work the shears to get rid of that high spot, and then there's a lot more control than when there's a whole bunch. So see, now that high spot's gone, and then I have a few other spots right there that I need to work on, and then for the most part it is done. So you can see there's that side. I'm going to come over here, show you the other side, and you see they match up pretty well. So now I just gotta finish trimming it and then add this little black plastic molding. Alright, so I got it trimmed up to how I want. So all I did now is just went to O'Reilly's, and I picked up this edge trim. This is what it looks like. So now all I'm going to do is just slide this edge trim onto it, and I'll show you how I do that. This part's pretty simple. I'm going to start right here, and I'm just going to push this on as much as I can. You can see, and then pretty much you're just gonna keep going through, and that's all it is. It's pretty simple. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. All right, so you can see I have the door trim on there now, so that on the fender, so that it looks a lot better. You can see the angle there. Not 100% sure how well I match up, but you can see it there. It's close enough. It's not exact, but it's close enough. But that's it. That's all there is to trimming the fenders. Now, you can see here, this is black, where this one over here is gray. I'm just gonna paint that real quick. And then, like I said, I'm gonna drill a little hole to the fender liner here and try to attach it to this piece of metal right here with a zip tie, and then take the rest of the fender liner and tuck it up in there. Sorry, tuck the rest of the fender liner in as high as I can, and then use a couple holes right up in here to attach it to existing holes that are in the body up there. Sorry you guys can't see that. But other than that, I'm pretty much done. That's the process that I use, just using shears. And you see that's pretty quick. If I wasn't filming, maybe 10 minutes total to get this done. And so 20 minutes, and there's no bad gouges. I don't have to worry about using a cutoff wheel or a grinder, just some metal shears, and was able to make it look pretty decent. Well, I hope you guys like that. Hit like and subscribe. Next video will probably be a walk around, or we're taking this thing out this weekend to the mountains. Might have some video of that. Thank you guys.